That's when we won. In the beginning.
It is another beautiful day here at Awali. I am so grateful because today I get to sit with two people that I admire so much. But not only that I admire, that I actually listen to. They always are keyed into life's natural biorhythms. So it's always a course with sitting with them on how to make decisions, but how to move forward. And so I would love to share that with you all who are tuning in. It is my pleasure to invite you all to a conversation on tapping into the source with Dr. B. Sirius of Elevation Time and Eugene Cook of Grow Where You Are and Awali, respectively. Thank you all for coming out today. I always like for people to introduce themselves. Who knows you better than yourself? And so, Doc, if you don't mind, just letting us know who you are, the work that you do, and yeah.
They call me Dr. B. Sirius, and I'm here to help people be their better selves. And I work with Elevation Time to help educate people on becoming their best selves. I'm also a musician, a producer of music and sound and vibration. I've created something called medicine music, which is available on our website, which helps to open up the mind vibrationally at a different level and change the frequency of their lives.
Beautiful. Eugene, do you mind sharing with us who you are?
Yes, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Eugene Cook of Grow Where You Are. I'm a visual artist and a urban farmer. I've been growing food here in Atlanta since 2007 and have dedicated my life to creating beautiful spaces so that we have an opportunity to slow down and be consumed by and consume beauty.
Beautiful. I'm ready. Let's get into it.
Yay.
Let's go.
And so, in keeping in the same line with the foods that shaped America, Doc, is that where we start to, like, as they're manufacturing, as people are like in their personal home labs trying to figure out how to make stuff for mass consumption, is that where we essentially get like the first like poisoning or the first kind of like, maybe it is just poisoning, just where our food is being tampered with, but so it's tampering also with our natural rhythms, how we socialize with one another, how much more we're compliant, because people are creating these things, like when you think about like Coca-Cola, it's taking these products that it's like a stimulant, you know, and so then they're giving that to people with sugars and all kinds of stuff, and then that's having an effect on people's, you know, how they relate to themselves and to one another. It's like that's when the social experiments start.
Well, that's when you get the looping. I call it the loop. You take people out of the natural biorhythm, the natural, you know, circadian rhythms of nature, you know what I'm saying, fall, the seasons. You take people out of that and you create these environments that can be controlled. The people lose their minds. Your mind is the natural mind that you got through nature, through your experiences, from the weather, from the seasons and the phases of the moon. Once you are able to control that, you can completely control the people and keep the people in lack and limitation and not enoughness, because now they're needy. Now you need somebody to feed you. You're looking for a savior. Oh my God, the grocery store's closed. What are we going to do? You see what I'm saying? This is when you get the big, you know, the stores that sell everything to you. That's most of it's trash.
Right.
It's the junk. So once the people are junkies and they're getting the dopamine high, they no longer getting the serotonin. They're no longer getting the oxytocin. They're no longer being able to feel nature and feel what's real. You're creating a loop. And once you create a loop, you can sell them anything. Oh, this is the season for Halloween. You know, we're going to sell them more sugar. Well, the day after Halloween, right, is what is it, All Saints Day? No, All Souls Day. Well, All Souls Day is the day we got your soul. Now you're scared out of your wits and the sugar's messed up your mind, so you don't know what's real and what's not. The next day is All Saints Day. I think that's the way it goes. And the saints come marching in to save you. You see, the church, the Catholic Church, wanted to control the sunlight. They want the time, the clock, everything. They decided, okay, this is Greenwich Mean Time. This sets the clock. Once you start setting the clock and you got the, you're setting clocks ahead an hour and back an hour. You start playing with people's biorhythms, and once you start playing with their biorhythm, now you're the DJ. You can play any song you want. They're gonna dance when you say they dance. When you say it's time to go home, it's time to go home. And the people will follow that rhythm because we're habitual people. We follow habit. Like now, even more, you watch the commercials, they're in loops. The music is loops. The music doesn't even change. It's just the same beat on and on and on to the end. It has no crescendo. There's no orgasm. There's no crest. Like in good movies, you have, tension and release. A good song has tension and release. The farm, the garden has tension and release. Like you said, that sometimes the fruit didn't grow that great this year. You see, then another year, oh my God, it's like crazy because there's natural biorhythms that we allowed ourselves to move away from. And once we get back into that rhythm of nature, the rhythm of life, but then all of a sudden God becomes a woman. You have to make God a woman again because it is the feminine nature that has all this happening.
It has cycles, it has rhythms.
When you have God as a man, do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. It changes your whole thinking about life. So back in those days, it was all about nature. That's what they called the witches and not the warlocks, but the witches and the sorcerer. What's wrong with, they didn't want you to be a sorcerer. So you have no resources. You have no natural, you're not connected to the source. You're on a loop.
You mentioned like holidays and like the Catholic Church and them imposing these kind of rituals on us, and it's centered around also food. So we have like food culture and we have food rituals that are promoted to keep us out of time, to keep us out of our natural rhythms and out of our natural progression through life. We come out of the flow. Can both of you or either one of you speak to food as ritual and food as culture and the part that plays in, and just seeing now the food culture that we're presently in, or that's been imposed upon us and that we've bought into, how that has taken us so far out of our natural rhythms, our natural biorhythms, and is there a way to get back in? And if so, if you guys have an idea of that, what is the way back into a food culture, a food ritual that brings us back into harmony?
When you follow the natural rhythms, you get into a ceremony, a dance. The only thing we have to do now is get back into the dance. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
You have to get back into the dance. You got to dance again. You got to laugh again. Your emotions can't be triggered by an emoji. This emoji means that I should laugh, or that means that you love me. You see, that's not real. That's part of the artificial intelligence. So once we start getting back and doing our natural things, I'm allowing myself to go for a walk today. When your friends say, well, no, don't go, because, there's violence in the neighborhood. You see, and you don't go. You would have, that walk was the most important thing in your life. And when you have divine intervention, you have divine protection, you're not concerned with what's happening in the neighborhood. You are the neighborhood. You're the world. So when we begin to eat in season, never mind that they told you that this was a holiday, then you're going to eat this on this holiday, because usually what you're eating on the holiday is killing you. The ritual the ceremonies that they were doing back then are still happening because you are following that ritual, which is most of them about death, destruction, the food on the table. You know what I'm saying? The average animal, if it ate that, it would die. But we've conditioned ourselves to go along with the ceremony of death. So all we got to do is start doing the ceremony, start getting into the ceremony of life. And you do a little bit every day.
And the natural foods, they inform us
It's
on
the
how to do
information.
that. It's the information.
And in following what Dr. B is saying about the dance, getting back into the dance, right? The dance is the movement of the seasonality, knowing that regardless of what the season is, regardless of temperature or mood or whatever, being a part of the dance means feeling, because if we're out on the dance floor, at any given moment the DJ can change the song. It might have been one song that got us out onto the dance floor. Say it's springtime that gets us out into the garden. This is the song you love. Oh, that's my song. I'm getting out. I'm getting ready to start dancing. And then in the middle of that, while we're out there doing what we're doing, the DJ changes the song again. And maybe it's not a song that you particularly like, or maybe it's a song you ain't never heard, or maybe it's in a genre that you're not familiar with. You don't know how to samba, or you don't know how to waltz, or you don't know how to whatever, but you're still on the dance floor. So just stay in the movement of it. So for me, the experience has been about embracing, allowing, like Doc is talking about, allowing myself to move into the day, move back into food ritual. You asked about food ritual, right? So for myself to come into the food ritual, it took becoming a parent, right? Becoming a parent the first time, feeling the birth of a child coming, it became really important for me to realize, wait a minute, I don't even have anything at the house to feed this child. You know what I mean? I don't have anything outside that I can just go and pick and say, there will be something for this child to eat. So having access to land, having access to space, having a pot, having a planter box, having something where we can get back into the ritual or the ceremony of life. Because the part for us that's the ceremony of life, there's a law that's operating. If a seed gets planted under some soil, it's in dark, it's moist, it will sprout. That part we don't have to do. That's the law. The part that we have to do is put the seed under the soil. That's the part where we have to participate. And once we choose to participate in that ceremony, as it comes, it is a ceremony, it's a cycle, it's a continuous law that is always working. It's always active.
You know, I went to a club when I was young. This was like first time I really went to a club. And I noticed this gentleman and this lady were dancing, and it was a slow song on, and they were slow dancing. The DJ played fast songs. These two were on the floor still slow dancing. They slow danced together in love for the entire night. No matter what the rhythm was the DJ played, they were on the floor and they were so close you could see. This was amazing. And they had their eyes closed and they were holding each other so tight. No matter what the DJ played, their rhythm was their rhythm. When you give up your natural rhythm because somebody else says you should. You see, Pavlov's dog, you ring the bell and you're hungry, you got to eat. You just ate. Your breakfast, you know what I'm saying? Depending on what you ate, has not even digested yet. It may not digest for days. You just ate some indigestibles and drank some orange juice with it. What the heck is orange juice? You know what I'm saying? How could orange juice look the same? Orange juice always looks exactly the same. If you get Donald Duck orange juice or Tropicana or whatever, it's exact. How's that possible? How is this possible when the oranges are different every season? You know what I'm saying? Every time I eat orange, it's different. But what they're doing is conditioning you, right? And check it out. This is why these situations are worthy opponents. If you're becoming a master, you need a worthy opponent. In order for you to get better, you must be tested. So all this stuff that they're doing can work for you because it's all a part of the worthy opponent. It's all a part of you seeing it, knowing it, recognizing it, and choosing a different direction. You see? So the average person doesn't get that they're part of becoming masters. So they give up their autonomy and their idea and their goal because they're not goal minded. There's only going to be a small percentage of people who are goal minded. You become goal minded by, first of all, locating and choosing what it is you desire, no matter what nobody else says. I'm choosing my desire. That's my goal. Then I got to be goal minded, which means I got to get a treasure map. This all those movies about the gold mine and the treasure map. This is deep metaphysical stuff within us. You're goal minded, and the goal is the gold. There's a treasure map within each one of your cells. That's the God power. You see what I'm saying? Within each of us, we have something that says naturally, this is what we're here to do. And you know, because that's the thing you do naturally. You do it well. You love it. You feel good doing it. You're passionate about it. But then you may get, to a point where you're at the age where somebody told you can't do that. That's childlike. You see? So you give up your goal. You give up your gold. You see what I'm saying? You were 3 feet from gold, and you were digging, and then you decided because they told you that this is not a worthy thing to do, so you give up. You put down the pickaxe. You were 3 feet from gold. Then they, since you left the gold out there, pick up that pickaxe and dig for 3 days. You've been out there for 3 years.
Have it. Right.
So now they got the gold, and you're upset. They stole my gold. It's not your gold because you didn't have your gold mine. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't minted. The gold is minted in your mind. You see what I'm saying? Now, if you let that gold ferment, because you got things in your eating that are not supposed to be mixed.
Right.
You got the fruit in with this other food. What's going to happen to the fruit? The fruit's going to ferment. It's going to turn into alcohol. You're rotting it because you're not separating. You're not letting those digestive enzymes, right, do their work. The fruit just needs water and a little bit of squeezing. It's mostly water. Yeah. But no, you're going to eat, the big porterhouse 6-inch steak. You see what I'm saying? With it, because they had a fruit bar out there. The salad bar. I mean, the salad bar could kill you. It could take you out because there's too many choices. You got too many. If it was just actually salad, real, actual, they call it a salad bar. And when you get there, it's not. And you didn't stop and look and say, this is not just a salad bar, but it says salad bar. So you start having these little mind tricks that happen. You start agreeing to things that are not what they say they are. It's a lie. Pharmacy. Part of you expects it to be a farm.
Yeah, because it's this. What do they call it? Phonics. It's phonics.
You see what I'm saying?
It sound the same.
And there's no farm there. Your subconscious doesn't know those little changes in language. There must be something here natural. There's nothing in there natural. But you don't see a farm, but you've agreed.
Right. This is the pharmacy.
This is a pharmacy. These little agreements throughout your life get you to get away from your goal mind.
The opponent in this sense has now, they've out-strategized you. They've taken your own energy, not allowed you. You've allowed your opponent to out-strategize you. So here you are, you're in your flow. You're being informed with whatever you're eating around you, grow where you are. And then that moment where when you could cross the line, you give up, you relinquish. And they're like, oh, okay, this is what works. Let me come in and it pulls you from that.
And the deep part about it is you are the opponent.
You're the opponent. That's the
when you get this,
you're
like, oh, that was me. All the industries, and we want to say they and the victimhood, that's just to test you. You had a season where, too much didn't grow this season. You know what I'm saying? They got it, but if it was a bad season, now you're done. But if you're prepared for the season because you got certain things you got beans and things that you've dried out, you're ready for there to be waves up and down, and you realize everything is connected to its opposite.
That goes back to being in tune with the rhythm, and then in turn being in tune with the rituals that make this rhythm go. Which
means more time outside, because one of the things that fascinated me was when I was young, maybe a young teenager, my parents took us to Las Vegas. And you get in Las Vegas, no clocks and no windows, right? Because the last thing they want you to have is an idea of time passing. You know what I mean? They don't want you to have no concept that time is passing while you're in here spending or wasting money. So no clocks, no windows. So that when you walk in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and 2 in the morning, it looks the same, feels the same. So the circadian rhythm is off. You're high on cortisol when you actually should be asleep. And the more we get outside, the more we actually see the moon, see the sun. Even just in one day, seeing the moon come up, seeing the sun come up, helps us to realize we're on Earth and that we're part of this system. We're in Earth, really, and we're part of a system that we don't really have to control. Like, we literally don't have to control it because it's managing fine without us. So therefore, where do we want to turn our attention? Where am I going to turn my focus and my energy and all that? If I know I don't have to make the sun come up, I don't have to keep clouds moving across the sky. Whoa, but that's a really precise set of actions and interactions. Well, I don't have to do that. Okay. So what should I do with my time and energy? What should I focus on? What seasons are happening within me? Is it high noon for me? Is it sunset for me? Is it early in the morning for me? in the season of life, or in the season of a year, or in the season within a season, because there's still all of those dawn and dusk and high noon within winter, within spring, within, you feel what I mean? There's these broad seasons of life, and then there's also these micro seasons of life. But we get out of touch with all of them if we don't come out and realize, oh, look, it's starting to change. The leaves are starting to change. Oh, man, it must be October. That means pretty soon we're going to see all these leaves just coming down. We know this is going to happen. So then, like when we were talking the other night, Giovanna, and we were talking about being prepared. It was the other day on the back porch. We were talking about being prepared and saying, here it is. People are praying for rain but don't have a container to catch it. And if you don't have a container to catch the rain, then it's just a flood.
Yeah. Yep. And even in like church, no clocks and colored glass, broken colored glass. That's like the colors of the chakras, but they're scrambled. So it's not the natural rainbow. It's not in the natural order, the natural frequency spectrum of a rainbow. It's broken. And that light is coming in broken light, affecting your chakras, and they're sitting there telling you, and you're sitting there, and the whole thing is the potluck. You're going to have a potluck. Everybody's there for the potluck. And you're lucky if you live after you eat what's in that pot. You see what I'm saying? Because of all these things that really, they're reinforcing, right, the indoctrination of you leaving yourself, leaving the natural world and going into the world of law and order, power and control. You know what I'm saying? You're doing it willingly. And once you start moving out of it, you got to be strong. You have to have courage, because people are going to talk about you. He's weird. She's weird. Do you know she? But a lot of folks can't handle that because they want to be part of this group. They want to follow the rest of the sheep. You're the black sheep, and you're leaving the farm every night. Every night he leaves the farm. What? He leaves? You see what I'm saying? He's going to get in trouble. The farmer's not going to give him the big bale of hay for Thanksgiving. You see what I'm saying? You're going to stay there and be that because you're afraid of what's out there. And what's out there is actually where love and harmony truly is. You've got to be ready to get off that farm and get out of that rhythm and create your own dance. When the trees are dropping their leaves, because the trees got to drop their leaves because they don't need those tools for the winter. All the energy is stored in the root now. Mm-hmm. So your solar plexus is where your energy was stored from the sun. You see what I'm saying? So you were gaining all that energy. Your solar plexus is, you know what I'm saying? It's lit up now. That sucker's on fire. Now throughout the winter, you got, this is huge because now you got the power and the energy and the food and the light source, the electricity to get through the winter. You see what I'm saying? But now if you get to fall and you're eating the foods of spring and summer, and they're bringing in watermelons from 5,000 miles away or whatever they're bringing in, and spraying it to keep it looking good. Because, you're all into the look now. You want the best looking fruit. You wouldn't dare eat a piece of, like we had some fruits up in the back that birds ate them and they looked a little bad on one side. That's actually good. That's natural. If all the oranges look exactly the same and they're the same size, even if they say organic, I don't care nothing about that. Organic. What does that mean?
You can't do that. Nature can't do that.
Can't do it.
That means they sorted through a huge amount and had them fit into a particular mold. Yes. And got rid of all the other ones. It's not that they grew a bunch of oranges that were all the same size and same shape. It's that they threw a bunch of the ones that weren't fitting into that size and shape away.
Which makes sense when we go back to what you both spoke to as far as ritual again. It's another strategy. So you kill diversity, which informs us. It allows us to be in place wherever we are and be able to move with the flows and the rhythms when we understand the different diverse, like there's plenty of potential. If our potential has been diminished to just, say in the orange example, 2 different variations and just those, and that's what we're constantly on, is just those 2 variations. How do we have the space to, in any given situation, find different options on how to navigate that, because we've been robbed of diversity.
We allowed ourselves to be robbed. They didn't take anything.
Yeah, because it's all still here.
You have to join. They need your signature. They need to know a sign of your nature through the programming that you got even as a child, the language that you were taught as a parent. I mean, as a child, and the foods that they ate, and the holidays, and the things we call love is, these days when everybody gets together. We got to do Thanksgiving, even though we know what it represents, but that's the only time we all get together. So we call that love. That's when I'm going to see my people, and you're going to eat this stuff, because even if you were a vegan, vegetarian, or breatharian, at that time you're going to eat grandma's pie.
You're going to do it.
Or auntie's, she's got, bacon bit, macaroni and cheese. You know what I'm saying? And if your mother was here, you start hearing all these things about the family, and they start looking at you, and you may do it.
Yeah.
Unless you're like me. I love that kind of stuff when I go, and I'm so different. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to eat with me, and I'm not going to talk about what they're doing. You don't want to be like a zealot, a vegan zealot. No, leave them alone. Just like, you shouldn't talk about people who are deep in the religion. I don't try to talk them out of it, because you could kill them. Let's say all of a sudden you proved everything that they.
Then where are they gonna go?
Are you ready to? Do you have a place?
Yeah.
Do you have a place where you can go?
Exactly.
Change these people's lives?
Because they go into the church for the feeling of community, hearing good music, being around people, checking in on people. They're not going to church just because they believe in Jesus.
Yes.
They're going to church for an experience.
Experience.
They want to be part of. You said they want to be part of a group.
Yes.
And if you ain't got a group for them to go into, you're going to isolate these people over an idea. It's all just an idea. It's all just a theory.
You could kill them. They don't have that anymore. There's nothing to live for. So you say, well, is this what they believe in real? Yes. It is actually real for them.
Yes.
Because it's all a construct of your mind. What's real is real for you. That's your world. That is real. If you believe that the devil is after you, it's true. It's real. I mean, they say, well, Dr. B, they believe. That's not my job. I'm saying the folks that would like to go over here and find their gold mine. Folks that would like to go on a farm and eat I just ate maybe 4 things in the farm. 4 things. It changed my whole dimension.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? Because even if I go to the farmer's market, it's been sitting. So after 6 hours, how much energy does it have after 6 hours?
Right.
Now we got 12 hours. Now they cooled it and they froze it. And a whole bunch of people worked it who really might not even want it to be there. And everything is taking on an energy flow. But if you go to a natural place and eat something right off the tree, eating holy basil right off the plant when it's still alive, the electricity that it has, boom!
Right there.
You know how much holy basil I've got to eat to calm my nervous system, right? How many bags of tea I got to get the same volume and the same electrical flow that I got from one leaf.
And you're not going to get it because you're getting it right there in the sun. You're not getting just the energy of the plant. You're standing out there in the sun, receiving from the sun. That's not the same as making tea in your kitchen. And, we make products. We encourage people to make tea and do all of that stuff. We're just saying there's a scale and a spectrum.
Yes.
And the reason those things became necessary was because, to your point, Giovanna, that we allowed ourselves to be separated from the land.
Yes.
Yeah. And once that happens, then all of these other protocols are necessary. They're necessary. But you can always go back to just walking in a garden and there's the holy basil. It's taking in sunlight. I'm taking in sunlight and I'm going to pick it, put it in my mouth. There's 3 seconds between that experience.
And you're getting whatever plant it is in its full expression, and it's full, like it is itself fully and completely. And so you're getting that information. It's not
still rooted.
It's still rooted, right?
Still rooted.
So it's in tune with the rhythms and the biorhythms of the land, of life. And so you get the information of the space of your environment right then and there. So you can more easily know how to navigate through your environment.
Calibrate.
So this leads to my next question. You deal closely with the land. You tap into the rhythms of the land. Considering the overall vibration that's happening, we'll say in our nation right now, right? That's kind of like not floating out there. One that's being, actively promoted and is essentially pressed upon people. Like when you go to the land, do you find the vibration of the land is counter to that? Do you find that the vibration of the land is, and even with what it produces, does it produce its own panacea, like for us in this environment and dealing with those things? Or do you find that the land as of now, considering all that we've done to it, is like it's in a space where it's doing its best to work through those vibrations? because some people can say, like, you have people that say, oh, well, I mean, people talk about like being organic or eating from the farm, but like you're eating from the farm on land that's been degraded, and you know there are chemicals and there's chemtrails being spread upon it. So when you're interfacing with the land, the vibration that you're getting, are you getting the assault in the land dealing with the assault, or is the land maintaining itself and still producing and expressing itself in a way that is, you know, still true to its own nature?
Yeah, that question there has a lot in it, because there's psychosomatic expressions that happen with us as people, and we are actually animated soil. There's no part of our physical body that leaves when we die. It stays right here, and nobody has any issue for it to reintegrate itself back into the earth. So that means we are just animated soil. And yet we have this psychology that's moving through it, this life force that's moving through it, and giving us expressions of symptomology based on, most of the time, what's happening in our mind, right? So our body might have symptomology of a skin rash or whatever based on, yeah, there's actually environmental toxins, but there's also mental stresses or circular thoughts that are bringing on bad digestion or whatever, right? So yeah, there's a psychological film that the earth is kind of mitigating, right? But more importantly, what there is there are these really tangible ecological imbalances. So toxins in the water, toxins in the soil, and then radio frequencies. I mean, we haven't had most of these radio frequencies proliferating the atmosphere for not even 100 years. So what plants are dealing with, I can't even imagine. I remember years ago we were invited to an area to grow food. This was probably like 2009 or so, 2007. And they said, you know, there's an area where y'all can grow some food. A business partner of mine, we went out and we took a look at it. I looked up and it was directly over under some power lines. And I told my business partner, I don't feel comfortable growing food here. And he said, well, let's just try it. I said, let's do this. Let's prep our other sites, prep some beds over here, and plant sunflowers. So we prepped some beds over here. We planted sunflowers. We waited a couple months. The sunflowers were stunted. They were only about 2.5 feet tall, and the heads never opened. They never opened. They bloomed with bits of yellow flowers coming out of a closed head. And I said, now imagine if we would have grown food here. Now, we wanted to grow food there because we didn't have access to more space. So we were going to take whatever someone gave us. It's right under power lines. We plant the sunflowers. I said, let's plant something non-edible. We plant the sunflowers, and the heads are all gnarled, and the plants are stunted. Okay, so now what? Now, what if that was watermelon? What if that was cucumber? What if that was... Best case scenario, we would have lost our crop. Worst case scenario, the stuff would have looked fine. We would have sold it to the people at the store. I mean, at the market, and they would have been eating this stuff that we know is toxic. Right. So the land is dealing with all of it, but we are the land. Again, there's the law of, if you put the seed under the soil in the darkness, get it wet for a certain amount of time, it will sprout. But the seed doesn't plant itself. Right? So we do that part. We plant. So if we choose to plant here, then we'll get one result. If we choose to plant here, we'll get another result. And the earth is always having to siphon or sift through all these different toxins that are coming through, different stressors that are coming through, but it doesn't do it alone. That's where the microorganisms come in. That's where organic matter comes in. That's where carbon comes in, for that matter, like biochar. The important part about biochar as charcoal being mixed into the soil is that charcoal is very porous. It's like a sponge, but it's a hard sponge, and has all these micro caverns for microorganisms to live in. And when they have a place to live, then even if it's a torrential rain that comes through, they don't get washed away.
They have protection.
Yeah, they have protection because they're literally inside of a carbon architecture. And so the microorganisms just stay in the soil, and they wait for organic matter to come, and they continue to break it down. But if you try to put microorganisms in soil that's mainly sandy, and the water comes through, they wash down into the river, and you have no microorganisms in the soil, then you have the dust bowl that we had in the 1930s where dust was blowing from Kansas all the way to New York, which meant, what about the seeds that were planted in the first 2.5 inches of soil? You lost all your seeds. You lost all your microorganisms. You lost all the organic matter, all the mineralization. How do you build that back up? That's not something you can't go import, 10,000 hectares of soil from somewhere. Where are you going to get it from? Who's going to bring it? Who's going to spread it? So soil has to be built in place. So when you ask that question about what is the land dealing with, it depends on the place in which you're looking at the land. Because soil is built in place.
On that same thorough line, Doc, you are an herbalist and you're dealing consistently with herbs and how they respond to the land that is our bodies. Within this climate, how then do you consider like what to give a person, how to do herbal combinations based on this idea that we are the same land with these same kind of assaults? I'm sure you see people that come to you on all the different levels, but the herbs are coming from the same land that's dealing with the same assaults that we're dealing with as human beings. So how do you determine like what frequency or what rhythm or what herb or that will tap into people to like either bring a healing response or whatever it is they may need, given those parameters, I should say.
See, no matter what we do to the earth, there is another energy that we don't even know about, because our spectrum, we only let's say we see 10% of the spectrum, and we can feel, it's probably more like 1 of what's really out there. We don't even know what's out there. They have this study called epistemology. It's the study of the limits of knowledge. They got people to get paid to study the limits, what we don't know. How much do we know versus what we don't? I don't know how that works, but there's so much that we are not ready to receive yet. When we think something is bad, it's tied to its opposite. You can't have something that's bad without there being its opposite. So when I'm looking at herbs and putting together formulas, first of all, I usually use adaptogens. Adaptogens are going to adapt to the environment.
Yes.
Versus like Golden Seal. Golden Seal is a gangster. It don't care. It's coming in, lay everybody flat, just kill everything. All the intestinal bacteria, the microbiome is blowing up. That's why you got to replace it. But if you go with Oregon grapefruit or go Oregon grape, right? Oregon grape is one of the plants that they say they use to create this Golden Seal.
Golden Seal.
It's more adaptogenic. It's going to look at the body, say, okay, we need this frequency. There's this, you know what I'm saying? Somebody's making love on the dance floor. Let's focus on that. We got this issue over here. Somebody's building a home. Let's support the things that would like support in the life force of the person. So no matter what they do, there is a way to change the energy based on your goal. What's your thought? So if you got an adaptogenic herb, it's an adaptogen. So what am I doing? I'm doing a whole ceremony and a ritual while I'm working with it. Because what I do is most of my products are created to help all people, no matter what your condition is. These basic things are what we need to help support life. So that's my focus. And when I'm working on it, I'm thinking of that. I don't know who's going to take it. I'm not making things for a specific illness or a specific disease, because it's all the same. There's balance and there's imbalance. It's the same thing. It's just let your body choose what it needs. You see what I'm saying? And if we're all basically land, you know what I'm saying? It's soil, it's minerals. What minerals is your body desiring? Which ones are you deficient? Which ones are you deficient in? You see, if you know the 3 major, deficiencies like magnesium, vitamin C, things like that. When you know those deficiencies, then you're going to put things that are going to help support that deficiency. So once this world is going left and everybody's doing all these things which seem destructive, you think right. You take the herbs and hold them in your hand. Even all my products, they have the flower of life on it. Why? Because the minute you see it, no matter how bad the world is, The system says balance.
Tap back in.
Homeostasis. This is what we're looking for. Right. So that's not just happening from taking the herbs. That's not just happening from walking out into the garden. It's who is walking into the garden. Who is in the garden? That's the question. Who's here? Who's the gardener? Who's the farmer? You see, when you're picking, let's say, the holy basil or rosemary, whatever it is, you think you're picking it. It's picking you too. That particular leaf, that particular thing is calling you too. So there's this agreement that starts happening. So they used to think that the sperm was chasing the ovary down. No, that's not what's happening. The ovary is attracting the ones that she desires. Yeah. See, man thinks that, oh yeah, we can force it. It's all about force. But there's a power, right, in being magnetic and attracting. So you can be attracting or you can be distracted. If you're focused on what it is you're working with and what you desire, you can hold that bottle. It could be water. Let's say you don't have your herbs. You don't have your crystals. You don't have your sage. Grab some water and think and feel the feeling of what it is you desire. That water takes on the energy field of your desire. But if you're just, oh my God, I'm thirsty, I'm about to die. And then you drink your water. And the water says, oh my God, we're dead. This guy wants to die. So let's become, arsenic. Now you got a glass of arsenic energetically. Yes. So it's your thought process. If we think that the earth is going, the world is going to hell in a handbasket, it is. There's so many new opportunities popping up. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's real.
So like he said, you could choose to grow under these power lines, or you could say, let's just wait. Let's ask nature or whatever you believe in to bring us the piece of land that's perfect. Now you may have to drive a little farther, maybe something that, was way in the woods. Nobody even knew it was there. Nobody cared. The person that owned it don't even know they own it. You just start gardening or farming or whatever you're doing, but you have to realize that there's options that sometimes you don't know you have. If you think this whole thing is totally controlled, it's not. Do you know there's so much land they haven't discovered? You think that they know. They don't know. We may have only actually used or discovered 10 to 20%. What the heck is in the Amazon? They can't even go in there. There's places we don't even know about. What's under the ocean? Maybe we might know 10%. They can't get down there. The submarines pop and blow up. What's down there? Well, there's nothing down there. How do you know? Well, life could live.
And why are we trusting that this they has the information that you know what I mean? Like, why are we trusting what it is that they know as the answer to all of it?
They don't know.
Right.
Nobody really knows. The scientist at UCLA told me, I says, what do you know for sure? He says, what do you mean? I says, about anything. He says, wow, it's interesting you asked me that. We actually don't know anything for sure. I said, nothing? Well, actually, the sun, we don't know if it's actually burning. And fire, we don't really understand. We use it. Electricity, there's a very small concept that people have created, and they've created a theory or a theorem of what they think it is. But is it that? So you're sitting in a chair. Is that a chair? Actually, it's not a chair. It's a bundle of energy that became a chair for you when you perceived it. Before you saw it, it was just energy. Before we see something, it's not even there. When you get to the garden, you got to know that there's food there for me. Even though the food, you may go in the grocery store because you may not have any choice. You need to tell yourself before you walk through that door, I would like the best nutrition, the best food to come to me. And there's an agreement. So you may be going through the grapefruits. There's one grapefruit, one that calls you. That one grapefruit may have more energy and more electricity for you because we're photonic. It may have more light for you than the whole pile of grapefruits, that one. But we think we got to have a lot of something.
It's true.
And we always think that things are bad because that's how we were programmed. But actually, this is one of the best times. And we wouldn't be here right now unless this was one of the best times.
Real talk.
We're here now on this sacred land. This is sacred. I can feel it. This is like a whole vortex. When I come here, it's like, oh, they live here? So y'all probably can't feel it because you live here.
No, you feel it.
You feel it.
This is a special place
too, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, you take a couple trips to different places. You come back through the gate, you happy you coming through the gate.
You see? So there's beauty everywhere, even in the ugliest thing. Even in the most evil activities, there's some beauty in that, depending on your focus every day. And if you don't refocus and recommit and prioritize your life, you're going to be floating.
You just spoke to essentially a supreme intelligence that we possess, even with all that may be going on and all the different spaces that we're moving through. Like, there is a rhythm that exists within us that's still, like, it's there, it's persistent, it exists. So just an example of going up to one grapefruit, and where you said we're
The photons.
the photons in it,
The light.
the bioluminescence, like how we tap into that one grapefruit. That speaks to an intelligence
Yes.
that we have. How do we, through our food decisions, cultivate or enhance, tap into that supreme intelligence in order to bring it out and be able to utilize it as we navigate through life?
Learn how to feel again. Stop thinking. Thinking is overrated. Intelligence is messing us up. You're too darn intelligent. Intel is information from the past. What's happening in this moment has never happened before. So now I've got to be intuitive and see. If you don't know how to feel, because you don't have your gut feeling anymore, because your gut is full of trash.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And they told you to send all information up to your head to be processed. Well, actually, the first brain is the gut. That microbiome, these are alien creatures who all come together to be you. And there's more of them than there is of you, actually. If you allow them and feed them, you know what I'm saying? You've got to have some prebiotics. You got to feed. They need an environment. They need certain sugars they can't break down, but they eat them. That you can't break down, but they can break down. So once you know how to feed the microbiome, now you're dealing with the mycelium network. That's everything. To me, God is the mycelium network. To me, because you can't have nothing here without it.
Without it, yeah.
It's omnipresent. It's omnipotent. It communicates with itself everywhere at all times, every second. There's no time. And it's in space. The space rocks.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. So to me, once you realize that there's a divine intelligence that you're connected to, and you might go to the store and just apples, right? Almost all your apples are made by man, all of them. There's very few apples you're going to find, and you can talk about that later, but you're going to need to choose something. So you might just walk through the store and just hold it to yourself. You might hold it here. If you find yourself leaning forward, maybe it's for you. You may hold it and find yourself leaning back. Maybe it's not. So this is kinesiology. I'll be talking about that in God Power, teaching people personal kinesiology. And you just start holding things and just don't think. What do you feel? If the thing says, take me home. You see, getting back to that. But see, you got fluorescent lights.
Right.
They got that coming across that speaker. Those 2,000 hertz frequency. Hey, on sale today with your club card. The club is banging over your head and something's on sale. Buy one, get 12 for free. You know what I'm saying? All of that stuff is messing with you. Then you got your shoes on and you're not touching the earth and the linoleum tiles. You're in a place where you're not yourself. Yeah. You really shouldn't be in here.
So you got to be careful, because that voice could be a duppy coming through. It may not be the orange. It may be a duppy.
That's what I'm saying. You got to get to your voice. That's why I tell people every once in a while, go to a farm. Go to some land. Go in the woods and just be quiet.
Real talk.
Cut your phone. Take your phone. Take off. Don't wear any nail polish or anything. Just go out in nature maybe once a month, once every 6 months right now. Go on a tour. Somebody has a tour where they're going to nature. You know what I'm saying? And what happens is it begins to reset your biorhythms. Just one time. Some people have never done this. Some people have never been to a natural habitat. They don't even know what you're talking about. And they surely haven't been to a place where there's food growing and to know what it looks like, and that changes you. So to reset this, we have to go and connect with nature. A waterfall. Something happens when you see a big waterfall, everybody gets quiet. Unless it's one of those places where they turn it into a fun center and people are screaming, they're jumping off. But if you can go to a place where it's quiet, just sit there. It's that white noise. Or go to the ocean. Or go in the woods at night and you're in your tent or whatever and you just hear the nature. It's all reprogramming you. Now all of a sudden, you're feeling again. You get into your feelings. Now you're picking food that makes you feel good. A lot of food, you have no feeling. You just have knowledge that I'm supposed to eat this. They say it has all these minerals in it. And it might have all kind of minerals, but at the same time, it's got a protective coating.
Right.
That you eat that. It's good. You know what I'm saying? So you watch the animals, they say, well, they're not really eating that. You know what I'm saying? Well, maybe we should eat. But it's really good. You know, just eat it. And you're blowing up your microcosm within. You see what I'm saying? It's like, because you're choosing because they told you to choose. So you're not free. You know, you're under the Thunderdome. And if you choose that, that's okay. What we're saying is now the time, while all this craziness is going on, there's so much love.
Yeah.
There's so much beauty at the same time. So it's not that it's so bad. It's just how your world and what you're seeing, what you're looking at. What is your telos? Telos has to do with your goal. A telos is a goal. If your goal has nothing to do with this, because you've learned how to mind your business and business your mind, the problem is you're in other people's business. They got foods that just popped. They were trying to sell me some plouts the other day in the store. The guy was like, these are brand new and really good. And I was like, I don't know what that is. What is it? Well, it's a combination of this. I said, well, where's the original thing? Well, I really don't know, but it's really good. It's concentrated with all. I don't feel that.
Yeah.
I don't care what you tell me. Other people are, oh, really? Oh, really? They had it on toothpicks, you know. Yeah, they're an aisle for people over there. Oh, my God, plouts, or whatever they're calling them. And you're eating this. You see what I'm saying? And you have no idea that nature is calling you to do something more. Once you begin to listen to her and get the man out of your head. Once you get the man out of your head, whew, and if you know, I remember I was in the woods, Malibu, and it was Sunday. It was Malibu Canyon Park. And there was these Hispanic people, Mexicans, or what you want to call. I mean, all the names are wrong, but anyway, there was these indigenous people. And they were sitting around the little stream. And they were playing guitars and eating music. And I was listening. I said, oh, this is church.
Right.
They're having church. They're not in a building. The food and the way they was making, you know, enchiladas and tacos right there on a rock. I was like, oh, wow. Now you see why they could work all day and do most of the work and handle more, because they still got their stuff.
Right.
They might come to the city and do all, but they don't. You never should get rid of your stuff. Once you get rid of your stuff, you've allowed yourself to join the system. So don't complain.
Right. Don't complain. Because you've allowed it.
You've allowed it. You let your food choose you. Some days you'll hear, don't eat.
For real.
You do.
Don't eat. But you're hungry. Don't eat. Drink water. You're just really thirsty. Put a little lemon in it. You know what I'm saying? Well, you know, they say to use Gatorade when you're fasting. Somebody told me they were on a Gatorade fast. I said, you on a what?
Scary.
What the heck is Gatorade?
That's scary.
What is it?
It's for the Florida Gators,
If they drink it, it'd probably kill them.
the football team.
The football players. The NASA, you know, when they went to the moon, they took Tang with them. They didn't say they drank it.
They just
They just took it with
They did
them.
the commercial. I don't even know if
picture.
they went to the damn moon.
It was a bioweapon in case they met somebody. They're like, oh, give me this
Tang.
Tang.
Could you imagine this hits your body? Tang. If you hear that in the middle of a song, you're on the dance floor, you hear Tang. You're like, whoa,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
over.
Tang.
You drop down.
Bang.
Right.
You know, it's a T on the beginning. So that's the fallopian tubes in the uterus. The T is the first letter, which is the crossing point. You put a T on, took bang the B off and put a T on there. That means you're being birthed as an explosion.
Exactly.
And you wonder why.
But that's
well,
the
you know,
theory. That's the theory. The Big Bang theory.
The Big Bang. Well, that's a whole nother
The
one.
Big Tang.
The
Theory.
Big Tang
The Big
theory.
Tang theory. This is a whole new thing.
Chris Rock.
You've heard it
Tang.
first here at Awali.
You both speak highly about rhythms. Doc, I've heard you mention several times biorhythms. You're also a purveyor of rhythm. You're a drummer. Food. Does food have a rhythm?
Yes.
And the food that we are consuming nowadays, the rhythm of that food, is it to our detriment or is it to our progress?
See, the interesting thing about this part, when you ask a question like that, is that it's similar to when I hear the conversations about financing and like Bitcoin or digital currency or something like that. Much of the conversation that we see ourselves engaged in is centered around being in the United States. Thinking that the United States is the center of the world, right? So you talk to rich people in the United States, they say, what's the point of Bitcoin? You talk to people in Argentina or Nigeria or Cuba, and they understand what the point of Bitcoin is. So when you say the food that we're eating, man, people in the rest of the world are eating very different food than we're eating.
Indeed.
You know what I mean? Such different food, which is why we like going on vacation. Why people like to leave the United States and go to the Caribbean is for the ocean, the sun, and the fruit. So certainly food has a rhythm because it has a rhythm before it's mature. Before the fruits are mature, when I'm walking through the farm or walking through a garden, there's already the rhythm of the being that is required for its maturity. So the bee is coming through, the hummingbird is coming through, and then you hear so there's already all this rhythm that's happening. You go into the farm at night and you come out and you hear these crickets, you hear the toads, like you were talking about the other night, you hear the owls. Like, well, I haven't heard that. Well, you had to be up when they're up to hear it, because they're doing it all the time.
They were doing
They
it.
do that. They're going to talk to each other. They're going to, orient themselves. One of the major pollinators that people don't think about are bats, right? And bats are pollinating, and they're not pollinating off the color of the flower, because they say you're blind as a bat.
Yeah.
They're pollinating off scent. They're pollinating off of sound and frequency. So the food has a rhythm to it. Even before it's mature, it has a rhythm. I mean, these plants are making noise as they push through the soil, as the wind goes through the leaves. There's already, like you were letting us hear that symphonic music that I won't speak on, that secret symphonic music that we were listening to earlier today. But there's already a symphony happening. And then once the fruit is ripe, there's another symphony happening, because there's the symphony of what happens when we were eating that okra today and eating those figs today. Dr. B couldn't stop having the natural response that he was having. His body was having the response that it was having. He was changing the way he was walking, changing what was happening in his mouth. Everything was, and it was all making sound. It was, Stevie Wonder, Journey Through the Secret Life of Plants. You know what I mean? Because there is actually a serious amount of music happening with plants. And for us who are plant-based, all of our food is plants, other than sun. And there's so much frequency and rhythm in it, because when I look at it as a visual artist, when I'm looking at like a bunch of grapes compared to a cluster of bananas, there's a whole lot of rhythm just in looking at it. Yeah. But it's still rhythmic. It's still pattern based. And we're choosing our foods based on patterns. When Doc was saying, stop the thinking, right? That's the thing that I think being outside kind of demands of us. And still, most of us, we can overthink any situation. But many of us, when we go into nature, as Dr. B was talking about, there's an override, because there's something happening at the level of the skin where I'm either too hot or I'm too cold, right? So that's a personal thing. And then there's this other thing happening that is the sounds that are happening around me, whereas the ears are always open. So there's so much input happening that we can't filter out, right? I can decide to put on a jacket and I can kind of regulate my temperature, but the sound, I'm not able to control that. So at some point, the mind surrenders to the fact that, okay, I'm in an environment that has these sounds, that has these frequencies, that feels this way, and there's really nothing I can do about it. So I don't need to think about it. I need to experience it. I need to acclimate to it. I need to integrate with it. And that's not a thought process. That's a listening process. That's a allowing process.
Yeah. But plants make sound. They're sound. That's why they're shaped like they are. They're making sound. They're making frequency. They have harmonics. They have this energy that is creating vibration. That's what makes it what it is. See, in the gluon state, quantum physics, they talk about, you have particles that stick together some kind of way. They don't know what is holding them together. They call this the gluon state. There's this invisible or unknown magnetic thing that holds two particles together. So why, you have a piece of granite. What makes all the granite agree to be together? There's some sort of sympathetic vibration, right, that's happening in them, so they all come together, so it just doesn't fall apart and be, now it's, opal, and everything has an energy that holds it together. Now, the plants are talking constantly. We can't necessarily hear them, but we can, but we don't recognize it because we weren't taught. Do you see what I'm saying? So plants, to me, they're talking. I hear them. I'm a musician. Even when I became an herbalist, I was able to hear the frequencies of plants. That's how I formulate, through sound. Everything I'm doing is through sound. Everything. It's not from memory. It's not from, because I don't, they told me I had I was unteachable and I had bad memory. And
bad memory.
That was the
How
truth.
You have bad memory.
That was just based on what I couldn't remember that they wanted me to remember. The times tables.
Right.
Why do I need to remember these times tables? You're going to need them one day.
Bored.
What do I need them for?
Right.
I need to know what time it is. Never mind the times table that you set. You know what I'm saying? There's a table in nature that's been set for me if I learn how to go out there and eat it. But you want to teach me about the time table. Well, who's choosing what time it is? Who's choosing what time it is for you? Oh, you're a little too old. Somebody said, well, Dr. B, this music you're doing is great. You mean you're ahead of your time. How could I be ahead of my time?
It's my time. I'm ahead of it.
I'm ahead of my time. No, you may be in another time zone, in another dimension that has nothing to do with me. Do you see what I'm saying? Right? Whenever I used to go to the studio, I would bring food. I would bring herbs and tea. I'd make even if I was there just hanging out, I'd make big pots of tea for everybody. And they'd be drinking it. And it would change the music. Yeah, this is a good tea. They talk about how good it is. It's a vibration. It's a music. So everything for me is music. All of it. In the music, the trees are my muses. The plants are my muses. They're guiding me. Do you see what I'm saying? They're talking to me.
I did.
But it's not in English. If you're going to listen, you want to listen for the plant to say, "Oh, eat me." It's not going to say that. There's an energy.
Right,
there's an energy that I get. There's a frequency that I get.
It's the same way was with the granite coming together and deciding, okay, we're going to create a form.
Exactly.
I see it.
You see, people say, well, this guy Eugene, well, why are you always talking about him? I said, because he's got a certain frequency. He's an artist. He's not just growing food. He's not trying to be a rock star on the stage and dance around in front of the people. Do you understand? He's in touch with the soil, and he's an artist. Even the colors that he chooses in his art, every stroke, there's something magical about what he's hearing. And he loves music. That's the guy I want out working. If I'm going to go out and have somebody come and do some transactions here, we're going to make some plants and change the soil. I'm going to call him. Well, such and such is better. He was trained. I don't care about his training. He's on a timetable. My thing is with people, what is your frequency? And your frequency has a lot to do with what you're eating. Has a lot to do. Even with me, they say, well, you got to be in the bed by this time because your rhythms. Listen, I've been up all my life, mostly at night. I should be dead if what you're saying is true. Because at night, guess what? I'm considering. Considering means I'm allowing the stars. Because see, the sun has got a huge ass ego. That sucker is just like blam.
And it's just a star.
It's just a star.
Just one
and it's
star.
not a little. It's one of the babies.
Yeah, it's not a huge star.
So it's cool during the
close
day
to
to
us.
grow stuff here, but at night I need distant cosmic information from the orchestra. I want all of them to have influence over me. So when they say take it into consideration, that means that you're gonna let the night come. A lot of our spiritual work was done at night. They got us all to be up all day. Yeah. So you ain't even in the rhythm of your stuff. Because somebody told, well, the Chinese charts, that's Chinese. I don't even know if they're living by this chart. I'm saying what works
You
for
might
you.
want the other people to live by it.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's
What
all
you
about
should do is
exactly.
this.
So we can take over. I mean, they got a wall that people get to the top of it. They just decide, I think we should leave now. How many people are here in China? It's time to go home. Leave these people alone. You see, people will sell you stuff to keep you out.
Real talk.
They'll put up, emotional, energetic, spiritual barbed wire. Don't ever go there. You know what I'm saying? What was that in the Planet of the Apes? They said only an apostate would go to the forbidden zone. An apostate is an apostle. An apostate is a person who doesn't walk the path of everybody else. This is people who walk their own path. So they had this place called the Forbidden Zone in Planet of the Apes. They didn't want anyone to go there. Why? Because if you went there, you would find out that there was humans who had cities and all this kind of stuff. They wanted the apes to think that this is it. We're the greatest. Our low place is, we are the supreme ones. We don't want you to think there was anybody before us. This is why there's places on Earth they don't want you to go. You see, because those are forbidden zones. There's a forbidden zone in your mind. You don't want to think that God could be a woman. Why? That messes with your head. What about grandma? She wouldn't, and she'd be. You see, you start limiting yourself based on the forbidden zones. But when you start going to these forbidden zones, which might also be considered erogenous zones, because there's places where it's love, it's intimacy, it's instantaneous. Even with the concept of marriage, and you're going to marry somebody, you're going to be with them for the rest of your life. Look at some of the people, they're with them for the rest of their life, but look at them. They're sitting there, they got a table full of medicines. I'll never forget going to my uncle's house, and he had 2 TV trays full of medicines. He only had one. They only said he had one disease. But what's all these medicines? Well, that was to counteract the side effects, which are the B side effects. They're the effects. They're not side effects. And it's because he didn't do one thing. Take some mint and put it under his tongue before he go to bed. Just put some mint in your mouth. Sends an electrical impulse through your whole body. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Just a little mint. So all of those things are things that, when we start getting into the rhythm and the music of life, we begin to dance. You dance your way out of your constrictions. Dance your way out of your constrictions, your restrictions.
So there's an art, and there's the art to curating beautiful spaces. And in that, there's something that's like food that's produced in that. But also out of that experience, food is produced from the curation of beautiful spaces. When you're in these spaces and you're creating from an artist's perspective, what is the potential that can come out of that?
I think that what's important in my trajectory and in my growth, my evolution, is that I started designing. One of my first jobs where I could get paid to do like artwork, I guess if that's what you'd call it, was designing gas stations. So in California, I was designing gas stations for California and Arizona and Nevada, Hawaii. And what that really came down to is that the company would buy a parcel of land that was on a corner at an intersection. And they'd say, okay, this parcel is this large, and we want to have a car wash, a convenience store, and 8 gas pumps on here. And we need 2 driveways. And on this particular street, there's a center divider. On this street, there's no center divider. We want traffic to be able to come in, go out, make a left, and make a right. Work it out. And what that helped me to understand was how to move people through a space in a way that was efficient and also not dangerous, right? And so when it came time to start designing farms, again, I don't have the training in agriculture. I didn't go to agricultural school. I don't have a permaculture certificate. I have trained under people who mentored me through the process of learning how to create foodscapes. And in a foodscape, what we want to make sure that we have is stacking systems. Because I primarily started in urban agriculture, the spaces were small compared to the spaces that I'm working with out here in Georgia. And since the spaces were small and we didn't have the land just to sprawl out, we decided to take things vertical. So we would grow a fruit tree and then have a vine that's climbing in that fruit tree, like our squash is growing over everything, everywhere, right? Yeah. So take things vertical, and that way you can get twice as much growing space. Same thing that they do with housing or condos or whatever. You got a small lot, you sell it. Somebody develops a condo on a house on a lot that used to just have a house. And now you got 10 people living there, but they're living up on top of each other. How do you organize that? How do you have it to where you can move a wheelbarrow through the space? How do you have it to where these herbs that are down low don't get lost by or shaded out by another plant? How do we make it to where certain trees become focal points? They're placed at the end of a pathway. So the pathway leads right to this fig or this mulberry. The people come in, and that keeps food from going to waste. It keeps space by being maximized, because if it's a corner area and there's nothing else you can do in that area, then you put a big pomegranate there to hold that space. It could be security. It could be keeping deers out. It could be keeping dogs out. We used to plant this thing called natal plum that had these large thorns on it, and we'd plant it all around the perimeter of the garden. But this is because we were in South Central Los Angeles. So we were trying to keep these wild pit bulls and even the coyotes that they would have and the raccoons from attacking the chickens that were inside the space. So we have to think about more than just the human. When we're thinking about a growing space, yeah, you want people to come in there and walk through there and be, some people are going to be guided around by flowers. They're never going to look at a fruit. But if you put some irises over here that bloom, or some daffodils over there that bloom early, they come out at the end of winter or the very beginning of spring, and there's nothing going on, but then there's this patch of yellow over there, right? You put roses in a particular area. So how we move people through a space is similar to how we move pollinators through a space. You know that there are pollinators that are attracted by colors. There's pollinators that are attracted by scent. There's pollinators that are attracted by height. So we look at it and we plant the space and say, all right, we want people to come in here. And if a 4-year-old comes in here, they're at a different level. So we want there to be blueberries and strawberries down here that they're not ever going to be looking up in this fig tree, right? So we want everyone to come through that space and be attracted to something. When our daughter Awali was real young, and she would go around and eat the tops of the broccoli off, right? Because the broccoli was standing the same height as her. So she was like, why even pick it? I'll just chomp on it right then and there. It was at her level, right? And then the plant stays alive. So as we create these spaces, I think the important thing is how people move through the space, how animals move through the space or are protected from the space, or are protected within the space, and then having habitats for different species, knowing that insects are necessary for the space. So what's going to keep them there? How do we keep praying mantis in our garden? How do we keep ladybugs in our garden? My mentor, Adonijah Miyamura El, the first thing I saw that he showed me that really changed my mind to gardening was I walked into this space at Crenshaw High School, and there was fennel that was about 6 feet tall. And I had never seen fennel grow this. And he had done half the area in sunflowers and half the area in fennel. And in my mind, the little bit of gardening that I knew, I'm judging this man. Right when I come through, I'm like, what kind of man plants like 1/3 of an acre of fennel and then lets it all go to seed? What's the point of this? And then he turned around and walked into it and disappeared. I watched him go into this fennel that was taller than him, and the fennel just closed him up. And I went in there behind him and we sat, and he said, watch this. And he shook the fennel from the root, and ladybugs just took off out of the tops. He said, this is a habitat for ladybugs. This is why I don't have to spray the other half of the garden. I don't have to use pest control, because they go out and eat and then come back to the fennel.
Beautiful.
So there's a lot of layers of communication that we have to think about when we get past ourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
And say, this is not just, I'm not growing food just for me and my family, or just for other humans, or just to make a certain amount of money. People will come to our farms often and they'll be like, why would you plant all this? All this is ashwagandha. Yeah, if I plant eggplant, it's in the same family. I can harvest that eggplant every other week and I can make money off the eggplant. The ashwagandha, you plant it, you're not harvesting it, you're not harvesting it, you're not harvesting it. Week after week, you're not doing anything because you're going to take the root. Right? So the plant still has to grow that full season. You're not getting as much money off of the fruits, taking it to market, but then you pull up the root. You dry that root, you grind that root. Now you can take a little bag like that and charge whatever you want.
I love what you just spoke to, because you hit so many different layers, but what I heard the most is the art form or the beauty of creating or cultivating a relationship, or cultivating relationships.
Multiple.
And so in that sense, can farming be looked at one cultivating a relationship with the land? And from that, so many other relationships blossom and are allowed to, thrive. But and I also, in that same breath, I want to speak to how you go into a space And depending on where you are, and that's a shout out to Grow Where You Are, but depending on where you are, the things that are for you will begin to grow around you. So you may go into a garden and you'll have an overabundance of Oregon grapefruit, like you mentioned earlier. But that may be because you have a deep, deep need for Oregon grapefruit.
Yeah, or someone you care about.
Or somebody you care about. And so but what that does is you begin to cultivate. There's a dance, going back into the rhythms, you go into the dance of cultivating these intimate relationships with your environment, with the land. And from that, what is produced is then good food, herbs, things have habitat, everything has its space and its purpose within this cultivation of this relationship.
Absolutely.
And that in itself is an art.
How do you mean?
It's the art of it's the art of like collaboration, or the art of communicating,
Yes.
bringing things together. It's the art of
Absolutely.
relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that there's a term that people are using right now called poly, where many people are calling themselves polyamorous, right?
Yes.
Polyamorous would mean many loves, right? But what people are relating it to is sexuality, not to anything that has anything to do with love, right? To truly be, if we're talking about love is, and from my understanding of it, it's a practice of being in service to another being. It's not a practice of getting my needs met, right? So people saying, oh, I'm in love with this person, you're in love with this person because of how they make you feel or what they do for you. Well, then that could change on a dime, you know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas the garden, when we go out into the garden in winter, January, for example, if I expect there to be a spring, then I have to lead that relationship. Because if I come out in January, I say, well, it's cold, there's nothing growing, this garden ain't giving me nothing, forget it, I'm not coming back out here until it's warm. Okay, so by the time it's warm, all that I was supposed to be doing to prepare during that time wasn't done. That was what I was supposed to do. Then the garden will fulfill its part of the natural law, provided that I do that. So really, I think polyamory in its best case scenario, like if we want people to really embrace it, is to embrace the art of learning how to care for and love multiple life forms, or even just the life energy, the idea of life force, rather than smash it down, right? Rather than dominating it, absolutely. Rather than constantly trying to dominate it and control it, look at it, observe it, realize what it's doing at that time, and figure out how to support it, right? What is happening in winter? What's happening in winter is the death of a lot of insects, the freezing and the thawing of the soil, which literally cracks clay into soil. Because during the warm season, that clay is hard, and it is since it's warm, it forms like this congealed body that is impenetrable. During the wintertime, that same clay freezes, and then it'll thaw out in the day, and it'll crack, and then it'll freeze again, and then it'll thaw out again, and it'll crack, and it starts to become crumbly. It starts to aerate itself. That has to happen through winter. That's nothing that humans can do. That happens through the process of winter and the process of roots. So first thing, right after winter, spring is coming. First thing you put in is radishes. You put in daikons. You put in Easter egg radishes, whatever, French breakfast. Ones that go a little deep and then ones that go really deep. But before that happens, you're pulling out, at the end of summer, you're pulling sweet potatoes out of the ground, right? The sweet potatoes took all summer to go down and
Prepare the soil for the radishes to come through.
make some space. Make some space. Why have to do all that work when there are plants that will do this work for you if we do the part of putting it in at the right time? Rhythm again.
Music.
And
People come to me and at the man, this brother called himself a doctor. I'm not gonna say his name, but he called himself a doctor, and he calls me in January and asked me for okra. I said, brother, it's January. How would I have okra in January? It's October. It's end of September, October right now, and the okra that you planted is standing 12 feet tall. It's not going to be nowhere around in January. It likes the heat. It's an African plant, but he wants it in January.
Right. But did nothing to cultivate that relationship with
To
it.
have it in January. How you gonna have it in January? You either move to another country, you go under the equator, so that in January it's summer, or you plant it in the northern hemisphere where you live, and then harvest it and freeze it and make some gumbo, so that you can have it in January. Because you're not gonna find I'm looking for some fresh okra, because you hang out at Whole Foods. So you think there should be some fresh okra in January, and there is, but where does it come from? Brazil? Then how fresh is it? Because they're not giving you their best.
No.
Nobody who exports is giving you their best. Why would I? If I'm growing the coffee, why am I going to give you the best? The best is staying in my country.
And Doc, the same way as it relates to herbs, and then the seasonality of herbs, and when we're putting it into our bodies, and what it's doing, and the rhythms that it speaks to.
I'd like to go back just a bit.
Okay.
Because I just had my mind blown. I had no idea that you worked helping to design gas stations.
For Unical 76.
So we would call them, today we'd say, well, that's the enemy. Gas, petrochemicals is poison.
That's where I got my start.
The guy who's at oneness with nature, who will grow stuff where some people would say it won't grow, started with the opposition. This is my point.
And was loving it. Thinking I was living the life.
Living the life. In the petrochemical world. That was his opponent now. But that was what gave him his springboard into this.
Yes, sir.
So like a lot of people got into natural health like me because we became ill. You think I'd be doing this now if I didn't become ill in 1989? And I was at the top of my game in the music game, in the dust. So at the end, they had a little dust left over. And I was getting dust, and they called that royalty. And I thought that was royalty until I realized that what I'm getting is the dust.
The dust.
The crumbs after they have eaten.
Not even the soil. The dust.
But that is what actually took me to the other end of the spectrum. We have to go through something.
Yes.
You need the opposition. This is why people say, well, Dr. B, you keep making this thing so positive. No, positive means stuck. I'm actually negative. I studied electronics. I went to school for electronics for 2.5 weeks. The negative side of the circuit is called the cathode. It's the ground. It has no gates. Negative. It has no gates. It's like water, really, unless you'd have to really, even after a while, water's going to break those gates. They got to fix those dams all the time. You see? Positive, which is an anode, has one direction. It only makes a spark. That's it. Now, the cathode attracts the spark to make what you call electricity.
The arc.
The spark. This is where intelligence comes in.
Right.
Okay, there was a bunch of things that happened, right, as a template to be careful now so you could recognize. You recognize somebody come walking up to you like this, you know what I'm saying? You know, last time that happened,
This is how it went.
Things went sour.
Right.
So you begin to recognize things that you need to move away from. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There are herbs. Somebody called me one time and they said, well, Dr. B, do you have mandrake? Do you have mandrake? I said, what do you want it for?
That's a strong.
Well, I heard that, I said, look, first of all, I don't deal with those type of herbs. What's wrong? Are you supposed to be an herbalist? I deal with I only know certain herbs. I might only know 1%, probably less than 0.001 of the herbs in the world. Nobody knows them. What are you talking about? You knew herbs.
Right.
What are you talking about? We haven't discovered them. Right. Mandrake. What are you about to do? Well, see, mandrake could take you out.
Yeah.
This is like mandrake. This could kill a man. And a lot of herbs are poison. A lot of natural herbs are poison. Sure. But you need a little bit of poison to get well. We got to see, there's a threshold where your immune system ain't coming on. It's not coming on for some reason. So we need something that breaks the threshold.
Yeah.
So we'll give you something that will break that threshold, right? right? Like, people have a temperature and they want to bring it down. Oh, no, maybe you should let that temperature go. And if it gets too high, okay. But there's a level where the body is trying to burn up stuff and it's making acids. It's going into protection mode to try to fix itself. So you have to allow that process. If you try to break it, you see what I'm saying?
I do.
It's like you're trying to help the butterfly come out the cocoon. You help a butterfly out of the cocoon, right? You just broke see, that's hormesis. It's got to go through a certain amount of trial and error, what you may call struggle to get strong. But we want to help it. Oh, let's help them. Oh, let's help those people. They're down there. Yeah. Somebody told me, they said, somebody said, maybe the Caucasian people help the Africans. How? How did they help them? Because their mindset said that they were involved in something that was disagreeable. So once again, religion comes involved and all these things. You want to religio. You want to religion the people. You want them to marching, right, with the cross of Jesus marching on before. That was one of the songs in church. They're marching on to war. The Christians, or onward Christian soldiers marching on to war. Why are they fighting? They fighting these people because those people want to be naked. They worship trees. They got a tree in the center of the forest. They all go there and they touch their hair on the tree and they get a connection. Oh my God, that's bad. That's evil. So we got to go over there and kill them and find out who's left and make them follow us.
Find out who's left.
You see what happened to your friends? Okay, now what are you going to do? Okay, where's the Bible? You see?
Right.
So my point is, and I'm not saying that the Christians, because that was their thought, that was their belief, that was where they came from. I'm saying we're all, right, people of the forest, all of us. We have to choose here. Once you realize that you may be working for what you call the devil, you might say, okay, I'm learning the system here. How can I use this? Eugene is a perfect example. This blew my mind when he just told me, what, gas stations? Huh? Designing gas stations, how to get in it. Now he's using that in farms and gardens. So sometimes you're going through a disease, you're going through a divorce, you're going through pain, you're going through drama, you're still going through slavery in your mind because you keep talking about it. So you're still a slave. Talking about what the man did to you. Well, you know what I'm saying? You weren't even there. You know what I'm saying? But you still believe it. So now you can use all that and what? Compost it. Once you learn to compost your drama, save the peels and the seeds and what's left, what you didn't eat, what you thought was rotten.
Right.
Let's let it go all the way rotten.
Yep.
And it's going to do what? It's going to go back to the soil because the rot rate is important. So like a pear has a faster rot rate than an apple.
Yes.
So that pear, you better eat that sucker quick. Apple, I got apples that's been out.
Yeah, you got time on that.
You got time on that. So the rot rate is important because how quickly your body can break it down is important. Some things that rot rate, that they play with this stuff so much. I mean, I just threw out some pumpkins from last year. I had some pumpkins that I got last year. And they've been sitting. They just finally decided to just go back. I was like, this is deep. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's what it would have done in your body too.
So it's all about you realizing that your trials and tribulations and your drama is about the rot rate. Are you ready to take it and compost it? What the herbs are doing is assisting you. The herbs have minerals, they have essences, they have essential oils, they have color, they have sound, which actually can help. Now they don't fix anything. Herbs don't do anything. It's you are the doer. You notice them, they have potential. Just like yoga has potential. Martial arts has potential. Your car has potential. The only way it's going to do anything is you have to meet it halfway. You got to put the key in that car. So you say herbs cure this. Herbs don't cure anything.
If that was the case, you could walk up into Savananda or any health food store and just stand in the herb section. And everything would be cool. You round all the herbs.
You round the herbs?
That's not what works, though.
You got to open that jar.
You got to do
You got to pick
something.
it. They have potential. They're not doing it. It is you meeting them. So
Who's in the garden?
Exactly. My specialty is parasites. What are parasites? They're your worthy opponents.
That we allowed in.
We invited
them in.
We invited them on in. And they came, sometimes they actually try to bring balance to you because you're so poisonous.
They're trying to eat up some.
They're trying to eat up some, but then after a while they start eating you and your food. So you have to realize that there's a whole thing called balance and homeostasis. The only thing the herbs and the natural medicines and the tree barks and all these things are useful for is helping to create homeostasis. Helping you compost some of this stuff and send it out as waste. It doesn't do it. It has the potential to. Certain plants are coded with a certain frequency and a certain song. You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't want to play a disco song, we need a slow song. What we're attempting to do is to help people create love songs in their life. And become the DJ, become the captain, become the CEO. And stop blaming, the victim. The victim archetype is huge. They made me do it. It made me do it. Create balance. So what the herbs, what the music, what the food what it is doing is it's allowing you to choose another path. You can do this every moment, any moment. Now, I tell people all the time, I said, well, it's not going to be easy because you've been on this path a long time. This thing here has got a lot of velocity. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But it's going to be simple. Today, just eat one natural food. One grape. Never mind, you got to eat a whole, because if I tell you, you're dealing with, certain diseases, just eat grapes all week, which is a very powerful medicine. Just grapes with seeds. There's a reason why you can't find them, but you can get grapes here in Georgia. You know what I'm saying? The
Muscadines.
Muscadines.
Mm-hmm.
Just eat those for a week. Grapes. I'm going to be hungry. Well, that's your own mindset. You're not going to be hungry. You're going to be full of grapes. And that seed and all that skin, you see it? That's power. I can't even break that down how deep it is. But it's going to be simple because you're taking one step at a time. So the herbs are for the healing of the nations. The food has to become your medicine. You see what I'm saying? If you're going to walk the path of the mastery, you're going to master yourself. You're going to become a lover again. See, they had to take soul music and kind of get rid of that and turn it into R&B.
Man.
What happened to soul music? So you couldn't control soul. You couldn't. This was the thing. It was just happening. It was a feeling. Right? They were, we got the industry. They're going to change it to R&B, rhythm and blues. Who did we come up with that? It was all soul music. Jazz, right, was sex. Jazz is intimacy. It's got to do with the jasmine flower, the saxophone. It's a vagina and a penis. There's a whole thing going on here. This is love music. When we get back to love music, love songs, songs with changes in them, foods and meals with changes in them.
Yeah.
Instead of eating, right, the same thing. Friday is fish day. I remember that was a big thing. Wednesday was spaghetti day. People get caught on this rhythm of eating. Or they watch the commercials, and the commercials tell them what they need to eat in this season. The news tell you how to feel, what to think. And now social media, this is wild.
Man, we didn't know nothing about this because this has come while we've already been adults. And I think that it cannot be overstated the impact that social media is having on how we consume all things. How our time is used, how our relationships are set in motion, and the foods that we eat. Social media is putting tremendous pressure on us.
And there's agencies that are funding it because America tends to eat its young. It's eating the people that allow themselves to be eaten. The parents are condoning this. The parents are forcing it. The child is born drinking milk and maybe some vegetables then you force this meat. They have to eat it. You're going to sit right there. You know what I'm saying? Until you eat it. And then you're going to give them some sugar. Australia. How did they take over Australia? They started putting candy out by the roads during dinner time, and the children were out there eating that candy, and they weren't sitting around the village and getting them the information from the griots and learning how to disappear and go into dream time and just be gone. Now the children they don't know how to do that because somebody came and gave them candy. So this is about being candied. We're being candied like the yams. You see, all of a sudden in America, it's all about the candy. It's all about the fakeness. It's all about your persona. It's your look. There's an app that can really make you look beautiful.
Eye candy, ear candy, nose candy. It's all candy.
You're done if you follow that path. Now,
It's all drugs.
social media is also powerful at the same time.
Right.
But you got to weed through this. If you're sitting and your fingers automatically scroll and you're just scrolling before bed, that blue light's hitting your eye, just before you go to sleep, what are you doing? Scrolling. You get up in the morning, you're scrolling. What did you miss?
Right.
Oh my God, you hear what such and such went to jail. This person did, and such is, and all of that is just taking you to a place now where you're leaving yourself. So I'm saying you can do that. You got to find a day, at least once a month. Let's say once every 3 months. You're going to go to nature. Grow where you are, find Awali, find some people that may have a program where you can go take your naked feet and put them on the soil. Maybe you can go find some spring water. If you ever had, I'm not talking about that stuff in the bottle. I don't care who made it. When you go to a spring, like when I went to Jamaica the first time, and the guy said, "Man, drink water," and water was coming out the mountain. I drank that and I cried. I broke down crying. Took me out. He says, and he points to it again. He says, "Water." I ain't been drinking.
What you been
teaching.
drinking?
I'm dehydrated.
What have you been drinking?
Yeah.
I'm getting refried. You know what they call it? Refried beans. I'm being refried. I'm not getting no water. That water was crazy. So we are drying out from the natural waters of life until we tap into it. One day out of 3 months. One day. One leaf of mint or basil, fresh. Even if you're eating all the trash in the world, but you got a basil plant growing in you can buy them now at the store. Put it in the window. Eat one leaf out of that. One leaf. One leaf. You say, "Oh, that's not going to be enough." See, that's your ego again.
That's not gonna
So
be
you could have let's do one natural thing.
They don't even want to try it.
You don't even want to try. Oh my God,
It won't work. So I'm not gonna try it.
It's not. If you call me and say, "Dr. B," because I get these calls all the time, "Dr. B, do your herbs really work?" I said, "No." They said, "Well, what do you mean?" Because you want me to do a whole commercial. No, they don't.
They
work.
want you to convince them.
If you don't believe and feel it within you and already know, then they don't work. Because a lot of people don't like my stuff. Dr. B, I don't think your stuff works. It probably doesn't. Your stuff costs too much. Yeah, it is pretty expensive. Why does it cost so much? I don't know. If you knew what happened to put this together, then you wouldn't ask those questions.
Right.
But you go get the $5 vitamin C and see what happens from that vitamin C, which is ascorbic acid, which is going to fry you. Everybody don't even know what to do with it. What the hell is this? It goes crazy. What the hell did the guy, we got to do the cartoon.
Right.
The guy just took what? The bottle said vitamin C. Natural essence of vitamin C at the drugstore. You take it. The body goes crazy. What the hell is this?
You mentioned on the last God Power, you're saying most of us are walking around here with expensive pee.
That's what we got.
Our body doesn't even know how to process most of the things that we put inside of it, so it just...
And we don't know how to process what we're seeing, what we're hearing, and what we're feeling. But the more you go tap into nature, the more nature taps into you. You start making a different choice. The day after you put your naked feet on the soil, you're going to make a different choice. The next day. The day after you go to sleep and say, "I'm going to put a mint leaf in my mouth." Just do that. Put a mint leaf in your mouth. Go to bed. We did a test with this with one of my classes. I said, everybody go to bed tonight, get a mint leaf, go somewhere and get a mint leaf. Put it in your mouth and go to bed. People were calling back the next week, "Oh my God, my whole life changed. I was working on this and it changed." The mint, that energy, especially, when you start dealing with certain plants, the energy, the electricity, you can taste it. It's sending this electrical shock through your whole system. The power's in your tongue.
I mean, I had mint tea last night. I told you all what I've been dealing with as far as my voice going out.
Mint tea.
I had a little bit of rum in there too, but...
Minty. The minty. Mint tea. The minty. The mind. You see what I'm saying? All this stuff is coded. It's all music. It's all life. So once we start listening to the real music, listening to something organic, you could just go play music from the 70s. Change your life.
Ain't that
And the love song, when you hear it, turn it into they're talking about a relationship between you and yourself. If only for one night. It would be so nice. Just me and you all night long. Don't tell anybody. No one needs to know. Because when you tell other people that I'm going to go to the farm and I was down there and they had me eating some holy basil.
Here
What?
it goes.
Oh,
Right.
The creatures come out.
Right.
And they become your opponent.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So you got to be silent. You have to have love. You have to realize that things are working for you. They're happening for you. Once you realize things are happening for you, then you're able to do the composting. Look at all the shit that happened yesterday. Mother Earth needs our shit. How many people have actually gone and poo-pooed in the woods? This could change your life. One time, you go down, squat down, dig a little hole. First of all, your center of gravity and that energy coming up from Mother Earth through your core,
Right.
and then you release back to Mother Earth what you think she wants.
Right.
You got this porcelain toilet, it's a special one. It's I got the golden toilet bowl. She wants your leavings, your waste. You see what I'm saying? Something happens as an exchange.
Yeah.
Just from that. A lot of people have peed, but go do the whole thing out in the woods. It changes you.
You know you're gonna have everybody waking up tomorrow and going outside and
Go on and
pooping
do
in
it.
the yard.
I highly doubt it.
Talk to people listen.
Well,
He
yeah,
talks,
maybe
they
that's
listen.
true. Yeah,
Hell, they nasty. That's right. When you get in the soil, your hands be nasty, natural. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
So these are the things that help us elevate our lives, and at elevationtime.com, that's what we do. Is we help folks make better choices, not decisions. We're not trying to control you, but you've got to be educated, because most of what you've learned has been deducation. It's taking you away from yourself. You see what I'm saying? You were caught up in times tables and memorizing a bunch of stuff you were never going to use to fill up your brain with this stuff. So now you can't use your brain power, which means you'll never get to your natural God power. Everybody has the natural God power. And that's why Billy Carson and I are doing the God Power events to help folks. We're giving you the tools of transformation. Actually, you're going to actually have them if you use them. When we did God Power 1, people have changed all over the world. There was 10,000 people. Their lives have actually changed if they did even one of these exercises. Just one. Just one. It only takes one. And that's the beginning. You see what I'm saying? So what we're doing is we're offering people at this time, and we're coming together in groups like this to help folks make better choices, not make decisions, because that's when you cut. And now you can't go back. Choices mean I can do all of it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You could do it all if you have a choice. So we have choices right now, and it's a beautiful time. The world is not what you think it is, because the world is your world. The world is your world. The world is not coming to an end. Your world might. The earth is different than the world.
Yeah.
If you say I'm in the beginning of a new life, and this is a reset. They keep talking about this reset. This is a reset. If you say it is, then it is. It's what you speak. Don't become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Try something new. Try something fresh. Try something alive. And be willing to allow the experience to happen. Don't block it. Don't go with all this expectation. Just be neutral. If you're able to, be neutral for a minute. If you've never laid out on the ground totally naked, go try it. It'll change your whole life. Just lay on the ground naked. A lot of people say, I can't do that in the city. Well, go out in the woods. Someplace Bambi don't care what you look like. They'd rather see you out here without all that stuff on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, then they understand who you are. You're just like one of us.
Don't bring your poison to the forest.
Right.
Man.
People come to the forest with their poison.
With their poison.
They made up and got perfume that would kill bees. You know what I'm saying? What was that? It was that perfume, which was basically shit. That's how they make perfume. People don't know that. It's feces and rotten flesh. Study
And
perfumery.
pee, right? Urea. as well.
Urea and all that. So
So,
I'm just saying that, if we just allow ourselves to be ourselves and to be natural again and do it one step at a time, just try one thing. Just one thing.
So Eugene, as far as the work that you're doing with Grow Where You Are, also, you are the board president of Awali. What's next for you? What's coming up for you? We're going into the winter months.
Yeah, winter is always a time of preparation and gathering in the resources from spring and summer. We have a greenhouse full of sweet potatoes, for example. So learning how to manage the resources that came in abundance. And I think the most important thing for what we're doing at Awali is opening up the space to our community teachers and educators right now, because we formulated the organization and opened up this, or kind of got the space ready right during lockdowns that were global lockdowns. So that gave us a chance to think it through and strategize. But now people are back out in the world, and we need to continue to have people coming to the space, but also creating this content that can go and meet them wherever they are. I think it's really important, and to be considered and used as a resource for people to come and do the tips that Dr. B is talking about, knowing that there needs to be a replication of spaces like this where people can access the natural world, feel safe, feel protected, and not have a limited amount of disturbance and distraction. You know, when people come here, we're encouraging people to just be in the space, experience the food, experience the light, experience the birds and the insects, and be in their own body at whatever pace. Some people are going to want to lay on a hammock. Some people are going to want to do work, physical work. It's different for each person. What you've been developing as far as creating this creative studio, these mobile studios for doing cooking and education like this is crucial, because these are the pieces, the God power, the blueprints are the pieces that we were all missing. For myself, the question that I kind of wanted to pose to you, I'm going to lead into with this way, is that I feel honored because of the fact that I've been listening to you teach since 1996, since before my first child was born, at the Good Life in Los Angeles. And the power, the way you weave humor and story in is the piece that has given me the opening and the access, because we have very different lives as independent men. I'm not in the music. I've never been in that world, but I do understand what it's like to wake up and realize that I'm not living to my full potential, or that other people have recognized my potential in a way that's benefiting them, and I haven't recognized it in how it's going to benefit me. And so the teachings that you've been sharing over all this time that I've been familiar with since 96, how is it that you stay interested? Why haven't you taken the viewpoint of, well, hey, I've been doing this long, there's content out there, I've talked to people, I've done videotapes, I've done presentations, I've done all this. Why stay in it with both the music and the teaching?
Music is my spirituality. It's my love. It's like a lover. She never argues with me. She's never going to leave. She's going to play when I touch her. I'm going to play with her. She's going to become aroused. And there's a connection with music. Music basically has been my life. And it's what I know. Music is my life. It's what I know. It's my habit. It's my drug. It gets me high. So I'll always be involved with music. It's nothing, even though the industry, I learned a lot from the industry and actually profited a bunch from the industry. But I don't do it for that. And I had to get out of the industry so I could get back to doing it because of my connection to it. Mm-hmm. I have thousands of songs probably that nobody's ever heard, and they're for me. Once in a while they'll start coming out. You'll start seeing more and more now, because I had to break issue that I had with lack and limitation. I just broke it. So I just went through a whole spiritual thing where I had to get out of a rhythm that I was in that I didn't even know I was in. A spell. And it wasn't most of my life has not been about me. It's been about helping other people. But I got to the point where I was giving so much to other people, I forgot about me. Mm-hmm. I didn't even want any awards or anything. I didn't want to be too famous. I didn't want to be too known. I'll be in the background. You go out there. You go make it. So I do what I do now because when I became imbalanced and very ill, I made a promise that if I could be helped, if I could change the diagnosis that the doctors gave me, that I would be in service to help people for the rest of my life. That's what I will do, is teach what I know. And I'm always receiving new information, and it's like I'm a channel. I realize that it's not me. You see, I've opened up. I'm a medium, and they all come to me. Even in God Power, that was the most challenging talk I've ever done. I mean, I used to speak at the Good Life for 6 hours.
Yeah.
What was happening with the 4 hours in God Power? All of the beings, all of my ancestors, all of the beings were coming through me, and they all wanted to talk. because that was a huge audience. They all had something to say. The challenge for me was being like the DJ and the cut selector and choosing or playing the piano, knowing which notes to push down and which ones not to push. That was a challenge. It was physically, mentally, and emotionally challenging for me. And that's why at the end I broke down, because it was so much to do this and to be an open channel. Because usually when I'm speaking, it's not me. I have to become devoid of myself. Because me, if I go back to me, it becomes the child that's they didn't call it autism, they call it retarded back then. You know what I'm saying? Dyslexic, the unteachable. I mean, it had a long list of things that was the little me. And, you see, breaking that spell, right? Sometimes is when you have to become, it's not about you. You have to move from me to we. So like I said, we go from Jesus, right, to Mesus. Just put the word Mesus. It's about me, because that's what it says in your Bible book. It's talking about you and what you could do, and you could do more, and it's about you. So it's Mesus, but now we're at this new place where we got to go Weezus. We is us, is all of us, because we're all here together, and we have to allow some people to take the path they're taking. If they want to go and eat whatever they want to eat and do whatever, that's their business. That's your choice. I'll offer you this. Hey, would you like to eat some of these special grapes that could change your life? Would you like to go put your hands in the soil? Or would you like to do what you're doing? Okay, see ya. Don't waste your time on folks that are not already there. You can give them a little information, do a webcast, teach a little bit about food, but if they're really at the point where you got to start pulling, we don't have that time, because we'll miss the boat.
Yes.
You ain't got time to beg people to eat some natural food.
Yes.
Beg them to come to the farm. You don't have that kind of time no more. If they still, that's what they're here for, to do what they're doing. So get out of other people's business. So what I do is I am an alchemist. I help to take things that are one material and turn them into something else. You see, in my studio, I've got so many instruments. It's crazy. I got to choose what I'm going to play. How do I know? Somebody asked me once, I was doing an interview, and it was about production. And they said, well, Dr. B, as a producer, what do you do? I said, I turn some things up and some things down. You got a garden, and you got a farm. You got to know what to plant, what not to plant, which comes down to the season, which comes down to all these things play into it. You see, even when I'm working with my herbs, I never make the same product. Every 3 months, you're not getting the same thing. People say, well, Dr. B, the stuff tastes different. Of course. You want the old stuff? What was happening then is not happening now. I'm making it based on the energy that's coming through right now. Now, how do I choose? I get quiet and I turn off my mind. You see, I go inward and I just breathe and I just let it happen. And something will fall. Like this time, I was making my quantum paracleanse program. What's it called? The elevated total body program. And mimosa falls off the shelf. I've had these packs of mimosa from India. They've been sitting there for like a year. And the seeds, the the touch-me-not plant. And they fell off the shelf. I put them back up. I did something and they fell off again. I didn't put them up good. And I said, they must want to be in the formula. Guess what? They help to reduce venom. Venom. Why would I need this? Because a whole lot of people chose to take some venom.
Yeah, venom in a vat.
Watch it.
Watch it.
Da, da, da. So, you gotta allow nature to talk to you. And that's what I do musically. And I do what I do because it's love. And it's all music to me. Everything. If I don't hear music, I'm a weird guy. A lot of people say, well, you don't go out much. You're not really social. Do I need to be? Do you know how much conversation, how many friends I got just with my world and who's talking to me? Sometimes I lose it. Sometimes I'm laid out for days. You can't even talk to me because it's so much. You see, you got to let that go. Sometimes when you're in what you call depression, let it happen. Don't try to take something to make it go away. Let it happen. Go all the way down, because if you're depressed, guess what happens on the opposite end of that?
Pop up.
Oh, you're about to be extremely, extremely creative. You see, but you as you say, Eugene, you got to learn to grow where you are. Wherever you're at, you got to grow from there, and you got to learn to maximize the minimum. So if you only have a handful of seeds, that's all you got is a handful. Once you are able to take that handful of seeds and cultivate it, maybe put them in your mouth, let the sweat, where the women used to take them and put them up in their vagina, right? Those seeds are going to have a special, they're getting a special program, a special blueprint from you. Then you plant those and you eat that. And that's going to be something that's going to feed you, because now it's conditioned and created a vibration for you musically, rhythmically. That's your songs. That's why I say everybody should grow a little something. Something, if it's just one thing. Just grow it. And do it from wherever you are. Wherever you're at, grow from there. Wherever you're at mentally, grow from there. Grow where you are. Wherever you're at, you don't need to know all the rest of this stuff.
Right.
I just got into consciousness, Dr. B. I gotta catch up. You don't have to catch up anything.
I just got into consciousness.
I just got into consciousness. I just bought me an Ankh down, and I went down to little 5 points, and I bought me an Ankh.
Just got into consciousness.
And I just I learned about the Egyptians, and I'm trying to figure out. I said, see, stop.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
You got to get to now.
That was a long time ago.
To now.
We don't even know how long ago that was. They keep changing the numbers.
The dates.
What about you today?
Right.
You end up Egypting yourself. You done got gypped. And now you're on the river of denial, right? And now all of a sudden your boat don't float because you're caught up in the past. What can we do right now? Because if you can't build no pyramid and you can't make that Ankh work, it's just a symbol.
It's just a symbol.
The pharmacy is a symbol. There's something that's not symbols, and it's these plants. It's this soil.
Right.
You may have to eat some soil. You may go to India and Ayurvedic medicine. They got a handful of soil they need you to eat. They may grind up some minerals. We got to get some diamond dust.
Yeah.
Huh?
You gotta get it in you. Why not?
You did everything else.
Do it with everything else.
You did the rest of this stuff. You took that stuff, that arsenic.
They brought you some stuff and said, take this. You said, sure.
Right.
Sure. What did the brother tell me yesterday? He said, people got to understand that the doctor is not the savior. And it was a pastor who was telling me that. He said that's the hardest thing he's got with his congregation, is for them to understand that the doctor is not the savior.
Interesting, because they're all sitting inside of a church. I thought Jesus was the savior.
Yeah,
or
but
God is the savior.
But like Dr. B said earlier, they have most people in their mind equate a doctor with a male. Most people in their mind equate God with a male. So they've gotten them. They just are. They're just like, well, look, this man knows or this man knows. One of these men know.
See, the doctor is not your savior. You have to be your savior and save your ass.
Have to.
That's your savior. That's when you go through that switch, and that's when you are born again.
You must be born again. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? We're at a time now where this is the time of the great change. We'll be talking about this. I was telling the children of that, I said, you guys lived through that whole pandemic thing. Right. They were there. They had masks, and we realized, like, do you realize that this?
You're the only ones that ever did that.
This was the deepest thing that they never just took the whole world and just whipped everybody's mental ass.
Right.
Told at one time, go in the house.
Backed off. I remember going down the 85 freeway, and it was only one truck. This was like those movies, man, we used to watch, man. The end of the world. This was almost one truck on the 85 freeway. That was deep.
And we have no reference, no historical context to figure out how to move through this. So that goes back into tapping into those biorhythms that are like innate to you in order to be able to sort out how to navigate through this, because there's no book that was written that says, oh, this is how you get through a pandemic. This is how you get through all this. No,
there'll be some now,
madness.
though. There's going to be a bunch
There'll
of
be
them
some
now.
Yeah. But
and they don't actually know that it's right.
To serve whom? Because they'll be creating instructions to serve a future that they have no concept of whatsoever.
Or that they're planning for. And so that's what has to happen, is what are we planning for?
What are we preparing
There you go.
for?
What are we planning for?
What are you doing?
Because we continually are reacting to plans that are being made and implemented. And what we got to do is implement.
As opposed to react.
Yeah, we have to implement. We have to have our own practices. We have to have our own ceremonies, and we have to implement them. And then when they work and we test them and vet them that they're successful, then we share them.
And eat your own food.
And eat your own food. Ashe. Eat your own.
or eat
food.
somebody's food who you feel like is going to have the right vibration around your food.
Man, come on.
I don't care if it's vegan and you slopping this stuff in the plate. Next,
Right.
it's vegan. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? And some of these, you got these plant-based meats.
Oh,
It was made in a plant.
man.
What is it?
Come on.
It tastes just like it. I don't want it to taste just like it. I'm trying to get away from it.
That's
Yeah,
what,
no,
like-
but they want it to still taste like it.
Like Ari said, he said if plant is the base, then what are the other constituents of it? What else is it made up of?
It's plant-based.
It's just the base.
It's the base. So, when you are able to know people like y'all who grow food and cook food and can teach other people how to do that, that's the power.
That's
Because this thing is falling. Babylon is done. You're just seeing like this is the vapor of it. It's done. It's fallen already. Don't talk about the end of the world. It's the end of a lot of people's world today. They woke up dead,
real
true.
talk.
which means they're alive somewhere else. Because if you're dead here, you're alive somewhere else.
Yeah, and they in a different world. They went to a different world.
So
This
this is
was-
beautiful.
Yeah, this was great. I consider both of you maybe direct or even indirect mentors and teachers. I listened to your words of encouragement, your wisdom, the things that you all have taught me have stuck with me, and I use them as guidelines throughout like my life and my journey and throughout my day. I mean, even down to practical. Doctor, I take your herbal supplements. Eugene, of course, naturally, I eat your food, and to be able to be in conversation with the two of you is it's tremendous for me. And at the same time, it's like bringing two titans together, and I get to hold space in that. This is definitely, for me at least, a milestone on my own personal journey. And the fact that we've created it so that it can be shared with other people is, I think that in itself is also monumental. And I'm truly, truly grateful to the two of you for coming here and sharing yourselves and allowing me to ask questions, and you guys just being so receptive to the space and to the questions. I really, really appreciate it.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
And I'm grateful to be here too. And I'm grateful to you, Eugene, because when I was on the edge of trying to figure out where I was going to go, leaving California, and the family was leaving anyway, I was going to try to stay. Eugene comes over and he looks around. He says, and first of all, his box is packed up anyway, so I'm going somewhere. He says, bro, you got to get out of here. You got to come to Atlanta. You got to come to, I'm telling you, Atlanta. And I kept saying, I don't know, man, Atlanta. We got the farm, we'll grow what you need, but blah, 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 blah. We can do this, we can do that. And that's what actually pushed me over the edge. Well, at least my homeboy is there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I realized that I had to move and I needed that final push, and he was the final push. So I'm here in Atlanta now. I've been here, 12 years, 11, 12 years? And the big reason is because of what you were offering with your, you know what I'm saying, your knowledge, your whole essence, that rhythm, your art, your whole thing is magical. So a lot of us had, we need to get out of our our comfort zone.
Yeah, man.
You talk about that dark, people talk about the shadow self really quick. Dr. B, I've been studying this thing about the shadow self for 10 years. I don't get it. I said, I'm going to give it to you real quick. Do the thing that you're most afraid of doing. Just do it. If that water looks like it's cold, you don't want to jump in, jump in. You'll be in there. It's too late to get back out. The shadow self is to do the thing
Real
or the
talk.
things that you feel afraid to do, and get out of your head and stop telling yourself stories because they're just movies that you made up in your own mind. And stop blaming everybody else and get out of victimhood and become victorious and win now. Put yourself in the winner's circle. Nobody's going to do it. You have to save your own ass. That's what the savior is about. It's elevationtime.com.
Elevation time.
Elevationtime.com.
Time.
Yes. Yes. So I'm truly, truly grateful to have spent time and energy with the two of you. Again, I respect you to the nth completely, and it's been a blessing to be here today in conversation with the two of you and being able to listen, to be an observer of the magic that the two of you weave and the stories and the information that you give. So I'm truly grateful, and I know today I've learned some valuable lessons that I'm going to take with me and move forward in life with, and also to be able to share it with other people as we're all attempting to tap into our own sources and elevate into something new, something improved, and so that we can grow where we are. So, Dr. V, you know I have to ask, would you mind playing a bit of music for us?
I
Not
would
even a
love to.
bit, but mind playing music for us.
I would love to.